Hail to the king, hail to the world. Like, what did I tell you? What did I tell you was gonna happen this console generation? PlayStation was gonna go third party. They were gonna go multi-plat. Everybody just got angry at me. Everybody was in denial about what Harmon Swift was telling you. But the reality was, I was right. PlayStation has failed. The PSP is done. They're no longer reducing handheld titles. And now they are in the middle of phasing out the PlayStation hardware brand entirely, making it entirely a multi-plat service. Oof. It's almost like they lost the console war or something. And they know it. And they have to just run back to mommy with their tails in between their legs. It's just amazing to see. It's something we've been looking forward to for a long time. Because everything bad about the gaming industry today was because of PlayStation. They introduced cinematic games, they introduced woke culture in games, they introduced like normies to the sphere. Like all the Nintendo hate, we've seen over the past 25 years, like essentially amounts to like stuff that they came up with. Like PlayStation and Xbox and PC were always jokes, but it is very glorious to see all of these brands collapse. And I do mean all of them because PlayStation going multi-plat isn't going to benefit PC in any way, shape, or form. And I do think that's the major thing we do need to talk about now because the narrative in the online gaming space is that PC is taking over, that it's becoming this huge cultural phenomenon, that everyone plays on PC, that it's this huge deal. And the reality is quite a bit different from that. Like nobody plays on PC. It is not a relevant platform. Nobody cares about it. Nobody produces exclusive games on it. Like all you're gonna see happen when PlayStation goes multi-plat is you're gonna see a bunch of games get released on Nintendo hardware. That's it. Like all that's gonna happen is that Nintendo is gonna have a console monopoly and that's going to dominate the gaming space going forward. It is going to be glorious. And the coping and seething will continue. I'm sure, like, there's going to be a handful of people trying to tell you that, like, uh, you know, third parties are like make better games, but it's going to be like, it's going to end up in this, it's going to be very difficult to do that in an ecosystem where like the third parties are side by side with the Nintendo games. Because, I've always said this, like, if Skyward Sword released on the same console as Skyrim, like there would have been a lot more discourse when it came to like which was better because if you actually play both games you realize very quickly that Skyward Sword is better than Skyrim and Dark Souls, but like the narrative at the time of initial release was that Skyrim was better because like ooh it's open world, never mind that the open world is empty and there's nothing in it and the plot is ridiculous and like the game is unbalanced and there's just the game just isn't all that good like fun to play, right? uh, oh, Skyrim is open world and realistic, so that makes it better. Like that was always the mindset of like the PlayStation audience. Like that was always their mentality, and now we are seeing that worldview come to a crushing halt. And it's not just because like Mario, Zelda, Pokemon are like bigger and better than like all of the third party games combined. It's smaller Nintendo properties, like Xenoblade is better than Skyrim. Fire Emblem is better than Baldur's Gate 3. Donkey Kong Bonanza is better than Astrobot, right? It wasn't that long ago that like a lot of people considered Donkey Kong to be a dead IP because of the Rareware acquisition, and look what happened, Like Bonanza just kind of came out of nowhere, took the world by storm, was a major launch title in Switch 2, and is going to go on to be a major cult classic. Oh, but wait a minute! Synthetic Man made a negative review! Like, nobody cares what Synthetic Man, Asmongold, or like any of these grifters have to say about anything. And I do think this is like the next major step because it's not a matter of like Nintendo being the market leader in gaming because they have been, the past 40 years. Game Boy made way more money than the PS1, which is something that a lot of people don't like to admit. Um, it's not a matter of whether or not Nintendo is like the market leader or like whether they produce the best games and whether they make the best hardware. They do. Like the issue at this stage, seeing like PlayStation kneel is like are the masses ever going to acknowledge it? Because like the way it looks to me, looking at like the coping and seething and like the behavior of like the dark side Phils of the world and stuff like that, like it feels like most people are going to like remain trapped in their little bubble, like believing that PC is taking over forever, like and that's kind of like my mentality looking at this. Like they still believe Baldur's Gate 3 was like a major cultural phenomenon when it just wasn't. Something like Minecraft is still more relevant than Baldur's Gate 3. Like there are just so many other like genuine cultural phenomenons in gaming to like you can't really look at something like Baldur's Gate 3 and call it like a phenomenon. You can't call Witcher 3 a phenomenon because it never received a proper follow up. You can't call like Astrobot a phenomenon because that was obviously like bought and paid for. Like Astro, bought and paid for. Like again, like all these like major third party games, that people prop up as being like better than Nintendo exclusives, like they're gonna fall by the wayside. I remember in 2016 when people were trying to tell you that like Doom 2016 and Ratchet and Clank were better than Star Fox Zero. And Doom has fallen off and become completely irrelevant, and Ratchet and Clank hasn't like been relevant since. Like that was always like the big narrative. Like Ratchet and Clank is like the rare example of a PlayStation IP that's seen consistent releases over the past 20 years. It's been getting way more entries than like Star Fox, and yet somehow because of its extremely low quality, crude sense of humor and just hack game developers, it has stayed significantly less relevant than Star Fox because Star Fox 64 is just so much better than anything Ratchet has put out in its entire history, right? That's the reality of the situation is that like it doesn't matter how many game awards are given to The Last of Us or how much like people try to gaslight you into thinking the original Bioshock was deep with this really involving political message. It doesn't matter like if millennials like play through Mass Effect over and over and over again, like because like oh the story is just that good, bro. Like it doesn't matter. The reality of the situation is Nintendo has won. They have established themselves as the market leader in gaming. They have the premier gaming hardware. They have the premier software, and it's only going to be a matter of time until people start moving away from PC because there fundamentally is no benefit to playing PlayStation games on PC when you can also play them on the superior Nintendo ecosystem. Why would I play a PC when I could play the same games plus the exclusives on Nintendo Switch? Like that is I think going to be the grim reality of PC gaming going forward is that like you will it is essentially a giant bubble. It is a circle jerk. It is not representative of the general gaming audience at all. More and more people are going to be exposed to Nintendo hardware, its vast library of games, and pick that up as their primary gaming platform. Over PC, over mobile, over everything else, Nintendo is the market leader in gaming.